Good morning, everyone. My name is Tang Siri. So today I'm gonna present about analysis of statistic method currently used in toxicology journals, toxicological research. So from the paper that we know about the abstract, whether or not the analytical method used in tox- toxicological journals are consistency based on sound or statistical grounds. So the number one of the abstract is the most study had a sample size less than 10, and the mean was dominantly used to measure central tendency. Like for example, mean was uh, used to the most of the paper usually use mean to the central of tendency of the experiment, right? So number three is the standard error of mean and standard deviation were used to measure dispersion, like like an error, right? For the paper and experimentation, sorry. And a few study provide justification regarding why the methods being selected. So the number four is the inferential statistic were frequently conducted with one-way ANOVA being most popular, and a few studies conducted either normality or with equal variance test. And ANOVA is is used to compare the factor. So there has a one-way ANOVA or two-way ANOVA. The one-way we use one factor, right? For example, age. So the two-way ANOVA we use to the two factor. Maybe for example age or gender, right? So if you use three or four way, it's more difficult to understand. So people usually use one way or two way ANOVA. And the finding suggestion that more consistent and appropriate use of statistical method is necessary, which may enhance the role of toxicology in public health. So, introduction statistical method in a toxicology journal have been frequently selected without proper justification, like a cut of the being last samples, appropriate measure for central tendency and dispersion of the data, like I said before, mean, right? Testing assumption for the use of parametric approach. So, this issue is critical since the inference drawn from statistics are frequently referred for enacting regulation, establishing guidance or determination of drug safety, right? So, material and methods that of the paper selection of the paper 30 articles published in 2014. 11 articles from toxicology and applied pharmacology, 8 articles from archive of toxicology, and the last 11 articles from toxicology science. So this journal were high ranked in category of toxicology of Thomson Reuters JCR 2012. So the outcome measure like the endpoint were extract and review for data type, sample size, and method of descriptive and inferential statistics. The data classified based on outcome for the measure show in the article, right? Like a numeric, uh, maybe continuous or discrete, categorical, nominal, or ordinal. It means the data classified based on the outcome of the measure and based on the endpoint showed in the article, right? In a descriptive statistic, inferential statistic, or maybe could not determine. So this descriptive statistic is only statistic per present, right? And inferential statistic is mean the conclusion was drawn from the p-value. maybe it's significant or not significant that we saw from the p-value of the paper. So maybe it's gonna determine if the method use estimate p-value that we don't know, right? I said could not be determined, could not be identified from the paper, or maybe the table of figure that they didn't put the p-value. So normality use Kolmogorov-Smirnov test, D'Agostino-Pearson test, and Shapiro-Wills test equal variance, Levens test or Barrett test. So the results based on 30 article being selected, most probably because of the original purpose. Okay, most of probably because of the original purpose of the study aim to the examine, right, the difference between the group mean or the examine of the effect toxicant, like I said before, and 15 of the 93 outcome that conducted inferential statistics underwent assumption tests, which is critical for selecting whether to use parametric or non-parametric methods. So the discussion, the mean and median use is difficult whether they are used since we not identify the distribution of variable in the. So we usually use mean and median, but maybe it's not that difficult to identify the distribution of variance, right? Sorry. So like I said, for the SD and SE, it be used without proper examination. Also, our study also show the many study have a small sample size that is not clear whether the result obtained from the study can be reproduced, sorry, reproduced, sorry again, reproduced when the sample size has been expanded. Since the study usually have a small sample size, the data might not confirm the normality assumption yet. Our study showed the parametric approach was frequently used without testing relevant assumptions. So it means the small size is not clear to the result obtained by a study. So we have to show the parametric, right? With, with the, without testing parametric is not relevant assumption. So relative and absolute value were used together without proper explanation. Insufficient explanation of statistic method were prevalent, which prevented us from conducting more detailed explanation. So it would be important to review more papers to invite biostatistics or discuss the appropriate appropriateness of statistic method in, in an employee in toxicology. So it was very important. Such a study will provide a good reference for establishing appropriate decision trees for selection of a statistic method, which is invaluable for improvement or reliability of the result and advancement of toxicological research. So I conclusion it. So it's up to the statistics is depend on the experiment, right? Understand of the nature of the study. Maybe you have a cost limit, right? So you cannot do a lot of experiment. So it's maybe your statistic is could be low or a little of statistic, or maybe you get a more microbial or more than 100 or 1000, so you have to use statistic to uh, what could I say, to compare, right? Yes. Okay. And okay, I conclusion is a reference. So thank you, Chisanuk, Asa, and everyone for attention. Thank you. See you soon.